what do you do if you find a really huge gold nugget? You know, what are you going to do? Imagine yourself, because it can happen. Some of you guys are going to say to me, hey, Chris, nugget finds like that don't happen anymore. And the truth is, I know two separate guys who both found nuggets over 70 ounces in size. And one of those two guys, in addition to the 70 ounces, found a couple of nuggets in the 50 to 60 ounce range too. So, hey, there are big finds being made. I know lots of finds that are more in the 10, 20, 30 ounce range. Those are still amazing finds. And, you know, you gotta really respect that. So imagine yourself, imagine you're out there, you're metal detecting or you're doing some other digging. You go along and say you're metal detecting and you go along and you get a kind of a loud sound and you dig down a little bit and you're down a little ways and it's gone from being just loud to being overload. You know, just really screaming. And you think, well, it's probably an old tin can or a horseshoe or some other piece of junk metal. And you dig down and you dig down and out pops a giant gold nugget. This is not really a gold nugget, this is a prop. But you pop out a nice gold nugget. What are you gonna do? You know, you think, wow, you know, the first thing, you know, you're gonna be excited, and that's great. And honestly, the first thing is congratulations, you've made an amazing find. It's something super and you should be proud of it. But what next? You know, big gold is out there, and if you make a find, is it time to brag? You know, the truth is there's enough big gold out there that between, you know, what any of us are doing and you guys out there, somebody's gonna make a big find this summer. And so, you know, odds are somebody's gonna make a find. I hope it's me, but if not, then I hope it's you. And so is it time to brag? Should you call up all your friends and let them know, hey, let me tell you, you know, we all have a tendency to brag a little bit, especially, you know, you find something that's really good news, you want to share it with your friends. That's not a strange thing. But what do you do? What really should you do? Now, I'm going to tell you, you shouldn't let everyone know. And in fact, there's a couple of situations. Now, if you're alone, the potential for secrecy is real. You could, you know, put it in your pocket, put it in your bag, take off, you know, not let anybody know. That's a possibility. If you're with somebody, you know, it's hard to not tell the person that's with you. But I know tales of people that have gone out with folks and, you know, somebody makes a big find and it's at the end of a really good and positive friendship. I know a tale, a guy a few years ago, we met up and he had a rock that was about the size of a grapefruit, and it was a piece of quartz, and you could tell from the outside of it, there was bits of gold here and there on the outside, so it was something really nice, but I could tell by the weight of it, there was a lot more gold than what was showing on the outside. And he had broken it in two, but when he handed it to me, he held the pieces together. And he said, "What do you think?" And I told him, I said, "There's a lot more gold here than just what's showing on the outside." And he said, "Okay, open it up." So I pulled it apart, and honestly, it was like a gold geode. The inside was just all kinds of gold, and he had done a calculation on the weight of it, and the weight that calced out as 23 ounces of gold. That's a heck of a find. And the truth is that he and his buddy that were with him, they went around there. It was a little old prospect in the desert, and I don't understand why the miners that found that prospect abandoned it, because these guys, they found some gold, and then they came out another weekend and they found some more gold. Although that one big one was the biggest, most impressive piece they had. Still, they were finding lots and lots of gold. Literally, they were both getting a pound or two of gold a day when they were out there detecting. And they went out there once together, and then they, you know, after the find, they went out a second time. But the third time after the find, so it would be the it would have been the fourth time, counting the original find, so the original find and 2 more. The next time, the guy called up his buddy, the guy who made the 23-ounce find, called up his buddy and said, "Hey, you want to go out and do some metal detecting this weekend?" And the guy said, "I'm going to go out there, but you're not. I've staked a claim out because the land was unclaimed. It was unclaimed BLM land. He says, I've staked a claim over it, and you're not welcome." That's a kind of a really cold thing to do to a buddy, but I know a number of stories that are more or less like that, where big finds make people lose their minds and, forget the reality of the friendship that, friendship has its own value. It really does. And bringing up that it was BLM land that was unclaimed, it brings up the issue of mining claims. Are you on a claim that you own, or a claim you have access to, or a claim somebody else owns but they let you on? I know a story of 2 guys that one of them got permission to go on a productive mining claim and do some metal detecting. And they both went on there and they found a little bit of gold, nothing super spectacular or anything. But one of the guys wandered off the claim onto some adjoining land that wasn't claimed and found a 10-ounce nugget. And from his perspective, he was on not claimed land, so that 10-ounce nugget is his. But from the other guys and from the owner's perspective, they only got on there because the owner let them on, and so they owed the owner something. And so the guy who had made the original arrangements and the owner both, kind of fought with the guy who had the 10-ouncer, and he kept his 10-ounce nugget and lost his friendship and lost access to that claim or area in the future. But he kept his 10-ounce nugget. Like I say, big gold can make people go big crazy. So you got to think, what if any arrangements that you made in advance, with the owner? I know another story of a guy who got permission to go on some claims. It was an old placer mining area. Some big nuggets had been found there, and this guy found a nice nugget. I think it was around 7 ounces that he found on the claim. And he found some other ones, I think, that were in the 1/2 to 1 or 2 ounce, which are still mighty fine finds of gold. And so when he had made arrangement, I forget what the percentage was, but it was like, I don't know, maybe 10% or something he was going to give to the owner. Well, when the owner saw what he had found, the owner kind of recalculated, and now it was like 50% was supposed to go to him. And so again, big gold, big finds make people go big crazy. And so you got to be sure what you're doing. And that's why maybe making an announcement and letting everybody know and telling everybody that it's a bad idea. People will want to come out of the woodwork. And, one of the reasons to keep it a secret is that, usually gold occurs in areas and oftentimes in groups, sometimes called patches, or just, like this guy who found the 23-ouncer, there was bits of super rich gold quartz scattered around an old mining prospect, a hard rock prospect it was. And so, you make a big find, there may be a lot more gold to be found. So that's one big reason to not let everybody know. And the truth is, people know this, that if you find one piece, there ought to be more. So if they find out where you were, they'll come back. And I know people who've made good finds and been kind of secretive about where they found it, but they let people know, and then later on people follow them back. They may I've even heard of people putting sensors on cars, tracking sensors like you could use to track your teenage kid, where they're going. Well, they put this on somebody's car and then tracked them to where they were going to get their gold. So keeping things on the down low is a good idea. And the truth is, once you let word out, word spreads fast. And then you have a security issue. You've found a lot of gold. Where do you put it? Is it just at your house? My gold, I have a lot of gold. I haven't sold a lot of the gold that I've found over the years, and I keep mine in a safety deposit box in a bank. And I know people will say, hey, Chris, the bank could just seize your safety deposit box and take over your gold. And it's true, but the bank isn't going to send a robber into my house with a gun and put a gun in my face and tell me to give him the gold. The bank will just seize it, and maybe or maybe not, they'll let me know later. But the odds of that are low. I mean, the chance that the bank is going to seize it is not high, but it could happen. It could happen. I acknowledge that, but it's safer. I know stories of people being robbed, that have big gold and let people know. I knew a guy who I don't think he had anything over 10 ounces, but he had a whole bunch of nuggets in the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 kind of size range. And I know the total was over 100 ounces. And he didn't tell very many people. A few people knew that he had it. But word spreads, Joe tells Tom, Tom tells Fred, Fred tells David, and on and on and on. And pretty soon, for that particular guy, the word got to some guys that were pretty shady guys. And so one night when he was at home, and this is an elderly guy, he was in his 70s, guys broke into his house and put a gun in the face of him and his wife and threatened them. Now, that guy, he didn't tell them where his gold was. They beat the crud out of him, okay? They beat the crud out of him and his wife, and he didn't tell them. But it wasn't worth it. He should have just had it in a safety deposit box. Another guy I know, I used to do GPA gold shows on weekends here and there, and this was a gold show in the LA area, and I used to work for a magazine on prospecting, a prospecting magazine called the International California Mining Journal. Anyway, I used to do that, and I'd do these shows, and one time I set up, and there was this guy next to me, older guy, he was also in his 70s, and he had some really nice gold he was selling. He had a display case. I remember he had one over 10 ounces from Australia, but he had a number of 3, 4, 5 ounce pieces from the US and a bunch of smaller stuff. He had a nice display of gold, and he was selling some gold. So I talked to him and, made friendly with him. But the next day, because that was a Saturday, and the next day, Sunday, the show's still on, came back from my booth, but that guy never showed up. And so I knew there were some people at the show that knew him a lot better. I'd only just met him, and they knew him better. And so I asked him, hey, what happened to so-and-so? And they told me. He'd gone home that night after the show with all his gold, and there were some people waiting there at his house, and they pulled a gun on him, beat him up, stole his gold. And by the time the guy could get back to his wits, and he had a gun in his car, he grabbed the gun in the car and went to go, but they were 200 yards down the road driving 50 miles an hour away with his gold. And so he didn't show up on the second day. So making big finds of gold and letting people know, even if it's only just a few people, a few good friends, you never know who your friends will tell, and their friends will tell, and their friends will tell, and their friends will tell. People find out, and eventually the word gets to people who are willing to commit crime. And gold is valuable stuff, and like I say, it makes people crazy. So security is an issue. If you make a big find, whether it's a single huge nugget or whether it's smaller finds, it's still a thing where you need to pay attention to the security. You shouldn't have it just sitting around your house and, wondering, when is somebody going to come. Like I say, it's theoretically possible that the bank could seize my gold, but I think the odds are pretty low. I don't bank at Joe's Corner Bank and Loan. I bank with a bank that's a well-known company that is big. They're a pretty good size. So the odds that they're going to do something is pretty low. But security is a huge thing, and not just protecting for your future finds, but protecting your own home and your loved ones. You got to think about that. And finally, we'll talk about cashing out. You got to convert. You don't have to. You could save your gold and just keep it as a trophy, which honestly, that's what I do with the most part of my gold. I rarely sell any gold. I keep it as a trophy. All the big nuggets I've found, they got their own memories and like, oh yeah, I remember when I found that. That was a lot of fun. Remember when I found that one? That was fun too. And oh, that one was interesting. So you don't have to sell, but if you decide that's what you want to do, you have a whole series of processes. The first thing you really have to do when you sell is to decide what you have. Crystalline gold sells for a lot more than just nuggety type rounded gold, but big nuggets sell for more than the bullion value. But the super duper crystalline gold is really, it's a work of art done by nature. And the more beautiful it is, the more value it is. And it's like any kind of artwork, a painting or something, pottery or whatever. The beauty of it and the desirability of it determines the price of it. And I know some, gold, the crystalline gold that sells for maybe as much as 100 times the bullion value. But then other gold, 10 times. And smooth rounded nuggets may only be 2 or 3 times. And there's a big difference between retail and wholesale. There's guys out there who will buy gold, they buy and sell, and like that guy that got robbed. They buy and sell, and of course they buy at wholesale and sell at retail. That's how they make money doing it. If you can sell at retail price, you're to somebody directly or directly to a buyer, you're going to get more money. If you sell to somebody who, for a living, sells nuggets and stuff like that, you're going to get the wholesale price, which is not as much. Let me show you some pictures of different kinds of gold, and we'll talk about that some more.
I do get people asking me quite a bit about what the price of their gold should be if they make a big find. And, the problem is it's a function of a number of different factors. One is the size. This is a 9.4 ounce nugget. Another is the character and appeal that it has. And the two come together. And a factor also is where it came from. Nuggets found in the U.S. generally have more buyers that want them than nuggets from, some other place, Australia or Africa or something. And so generally speaking, there's a number of different factors that go along. Now, this is a pretty flat, pretty rounded nugget. I wouldn't say that this has a lot of great character, but it certainly would sell for more than the bullion value. But how much more? It depends on the buyer. This nugget weighs 7.5 ounces, but it has a lot better character and eye appeal than that 9.4 ouncer. And so it would probably sell for a greater premium than the other nugget. This nugget weighs 33 ounces and was found in Alaska with metal detector. But it's more smooth. It's got some quartz. I mean, it certainly would sell for a substantial premium over the bullion price, but it would sell for more if it had more character to it. Still, the relative size, going from say less than 10 to up to more than 30, you're going to get a significant increase in premium because of the rarity of nuggets this size. This nugget is another size up. It weighs 75 ounces and was found in Butte County in California about 10 years ago. And it was sold by auction, which is a way of selling and getting retail. I mean, we've talked a little bit about retail versus wholesale. Selling this to someone who buys it to resell it, you're going to get less. Selling it by auction, of course, the auction house takes a cut and everything else, but you're still selling it full retail to a final end buyer. And this nugget sold for quite a premium, even over the 75 ounces, because again, it's the next step up from like the 33 ouncer I just showed you. This is a more than double of that size. And again, a much increase in rarity. Or very rarely are nuggets like this found. And here is the next step up even from that. This is a 153 ounce nugget. It was found in the 1970s with a metal detector in Southern California, not Northern California. This even is getting to where, an auctioneer would have a hard time getting the right price for it. This thing would sell for easily several $1 million on auction. Now, crystalline gold sells for an even higher premium over the bullion price. And something like this was basically etched and carved out of a segment of vein that was super rich. And it's a beautiful display piece. It's a work of art. There's no question about it. And it would sell like a work of art. This is a piece of leaf gold. It's, it is probably close to a foot tall, but the piece is very, very thin. The total weight on this, everything is probably in the 10, 12 ounce range, but it would sell for a big, big premium, 10 times, more than 10 times the bullion value of the gold. Pieces like this are super rare and super desirable and beautiful. With crystalline gold, when you're at the very high end, and this is the high end of the high end, specimens like this piece probably has 3-4 ounces of gold in it, something on that order. So it's not nearly as big as some of the ones I've just been showing you. But the premium on some kind of super fantastic piece of nature's art like this, this is going to be something on the order of 100 times the bullion value. So you get a feel for some of the crystalline stuff. Not everything sells for 100 times. Not everything even sells for 10 times. But, when you really make a special find, it'll sell for a premium far over the bullion value.
So what's the first thing that you do when you make a big find? And that is keep your mouth shut. You can do the wrong things and turn a really great experience into not so great an experience. So keep your mouth shut, take a look at what you're doing, determine all the legalities, determine what you owe the owner. I will tell you, be honest, don't let the gold go to your head. Do what's right with the owner and follow the legalities and do what's right as far as the law demands. And like I say, these are conditions where you better hope you're on ground that you have a right to do it, that you're not trespassing or something, because then that's a problem. So keep your mouth shut, think about it, know what you're doing, take your time, don't rush. These are all important things to remember if you find some big gold, if you make a big discovery. Now, whatever you're doing, finding big gold, it's a skill. Finding gold is a skill and a knowledge. And in order to impart to you those skills that I've gained over 40 years of prospecting and my degree in mine engineering, I wrote a book. It's called Fistful of Gold. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my book right now. This is my book, Fistful of Gold. It's an encyclopedia of everything you need to know to go out and find gold for yourself. It distills down my 45 years of experience out in the field prospecting, as well as my degree in mine engineering. It's, like I say, an encyclopedia. There's a lot to it. It's over 250,000 words long, hundreds of pages with hundreds of illustrations, teaching you what you need to know about geology, about mining districts, about techniques of finding gold. It covers metal detectors, sluicing, panning, dry washing, high bankers, you name it, it's covered in there. It talks some about platinum and diamonds, but it's mostly about gold because gold is more widespread. It is not so much a book about where to find gold, but a book about how to find gold. Because even if you have a location where gold was mined in the past and you go out there, well, where should you look to be successful in your prospecting, to find the gold that's there? This is the book that's going to tell you that information. I spent most of 10 years writing this book, so I thought a long time about it. It's got, like I say, lots of information. and lots of illustrations, and I've had results from people who bought it. It's available on Amazon, but I recommend buying it through High Plains Prospectors, and I'll put a link in the description for buying this book through them. They have a better price than Amazon, and I have a special deal that I'll tell you a little bit more about, where you can get a 5% discount from the price even with that. On Amazon, the book rates a 4.7 out of 5, which means that of all the people that have bought it, they've been really highly satisfied, and I think you, if you buy my book, will be just as highly satisfied as well. Now let's talk a little bit more about High Plains Prospectors. They're a prospecting shop, a mail order prospecting shop that I've partnered with. The deal is that I can get you a 5% discount, a coupon code, and I'm going to put the code to that right here. It's just Chris Ralph, all caps with no space between Chris and Ralph. You put that in there as a discount code and you'll get 5% off their already really good prices. I think it's a great deal where you win by getting a discount, I get a little percentage of that, and they get new business. So if you need prospecting supplies, High Plains is really the way to go. And I'll put information, like I say, in the description more about how you can work with them, because I'm working with them. They really are great guys, a great company. For even more information, I also have a website, and I'm going to show you my webpage and talk a little bit more about that right now.
This is my webpage. It's located at NevadaOutbackGems.com. You can Google it, or I have a link down in the description below. But there's lots of information here, miscellaneous stuff, pictures, some historic information as well, stories. It's got a lot of great fun stuff. You'll probably be interested in it.
Now, on all of my YouTube videos, I encourage you guys to ask questions. If you have thoughts, comments, suggestions for things that I ought to look at in my videos, things that you want to find out more about, and I answer 100% of my questions. There's not very many YouTubers out there that answer 100% of their questions. I'm one of the few. And so I will do my best to answer what you have. I mean, I only can write so much. Sometimes the answer is something where I'm going to recommend that you buy the book and read about it. I also ask that you subscribe to my channel, click the bell notification so that every time I come out with a new video, you'll be able to watch it. And like I say, I cover a huge amount of topics. I also have 250 videos that I've already done. And so you can go back through my catalog of videos on YouTube. I'm sure there'll be many videos there that you'll want to take a look at, especially if you have any interest in gold or platinum, diamonds, gemstones, geology, and that sort of stuff. My YouTube site is going to be right up your alley. So I'll see you again real soon. We'll be out in the field and back in the office at the whiteboard, and whether we're looking at gold or platinum, diamonds, gemstones, or other interesting geology, it's going to be fun. You're going to enjoy it, and we'll see you again real soon.